Good news, world, and welcome to another episode of
Under the Influence. Woo!
Now, before we begin anything, I'd like to honor my man of God and woman of God, Prophet and Prophetess Beverly Angel, the president and the vice president of the Good News World.
That's right.
For them answering the call, then we wouldn't be here as youth, as rebels for Christ, and as Campus Christ.
Yeah.
Now, we know we are victorious in our walk,
Yes.
in our actions,
Yes.
in our businesses, but most importantly, in our speech. Prophet is always talking about the importance of words.
Yeah.
That's why he wrote the book Genetics of Words. Right? And how the words you speak are so impactful.
Yeah.
They can change everything around you.
Yeah.
Now, that leads me to one question that a lot of people always ask, right? Which is the topic of the day.
Yeah.
Is the law of attraction
Real. Woo! Saucy.
Now, a lot of us know what the law of attraction is.
Yeah.
The law of attraction is the world's concept or the world's idea that you attract what you put out there. So the world says that if you want a Rolls Royce, you need to constantly say it or constantly envision it, and you will get it. But the thing about the world is, a lot of these principles are actually biblical principles. What they've done is they've taken biblical principles and they perverted them to take away Jesus and take away the power of the word from it and try and claim it as their own. That's what they do. But guess what? We can already see, as our man of God has taught us, that this is a basic biblical principle. And in the book of the Genetics of Words, he's taught us that words are so impactful that they can influence your DNA and your environment. So much so that, in fact, it reminds me of a story that Prophet once told us. About, this is the early days back in Manchester when they started up with the ministry. And he mentioned that he brought two plants into the congregation, into the church, and they were both the same plants of the same growth stage. And he said to the congregation, listen, to this plant, say or speak positivity. To this plant, speak negativity. Say I love you to this one, say I hate you to this one. After a certain period of time, what Prophet said happened was that the plant that received negative talk, right, was weak and dwindled, and the leaves were brown. But the plant that received positive talk flourished and
There's a doctor who studied this, called Dr. Imoso, a Japanese doctor, and it was about water consciousness. And imagine he had multiple water bottles and he labeled each one of them. And then he spoke to them, and some of them were positive, so there's some of them were like, you're beautiful, and then some of them were like, you're ugly. And the results are crazy.
Tell us.
Let's go. You check the molecules of each water. And the ones that were like, you were beautiful, they were actually beautiful. You know what I mean? They looked stunning. I was like, Crystal, you can see it. It was so stunning. And then also, another part which was mind-blowing was the fact that he said one of them was polluted water. So dirty water, the ones you wouldn't drink. And the next photo after they prayed showed it being clean. Speaking. Imagine it was labeled. So first it was labeled, and then he spoke to each one. So imagine what you're sending to your friends, to your group chat. You know, be careful.
Even what you're wearing as well. What you're wearing. What?
That's crazy.
And it's funny how you mentioned that about water, because our human bodies were actually made up of 70% water. So when you're wearing the clothes that you're wearing, what it's saying, or what you're saying about yourself, you're actually speaking to 70% of your flesh, of your whole body.
Wow.
Wonderful. And even what you're saying about how we're 70% water. I remember Prophet and Prophetess once actually mentioned that. And one thing about Prophet is, if Prophet tells you to do something and you say, I don't know, I can't, or it's difficult, guess what? He's going to turn to you and he's going to say to you, you just told 72 cells in your
Whoa.
that we can't do this.
Why?
So, as a result, we'll be able to do it.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Exactly.
So, words are so impactful that they influence your DNA, they influence your environment. But most importantly, Prophet taught that words influence your thought patterns and your behavior. So much so that when we look into psychology, I'm a psychology graduate.
Oh.
Study psychology. Let's go.
Let's go.
Just like my man of God said, if you want to be part of Spirit Embers, you need to make sure you have some sort of university degree. Some knowledge somewhere. So in psychology, what we learn or what you see in psychology is that there's 3 levels of the mind. There's the conscious mind, there's the subconscious, and then there's the unconscious. The conscious mind is your active state, your active awareness. Right? This is where you have active thoughts. Your subconscious is where information is stored for retrieval to be used in your active awareness. Then your unconscious is where information is deep subdued, but guess what? This information in your unconscious is actually the information that, or the words that influence your behavior the most. That's why when you're sleeping, guess which part of the mind is most active?
Okay.
Unconscious.
Unconscious.
That's why when you have certain dreams about you being chased by a gorilla, my friend, it's because you watched a movie.
Eating chicken.
You stored all that information about gorillas. You end up dreaming about gorillas, right? So the mind is so important, and how we understand the mind can also help us in how we use our words. Right?
That is so true, because even when you speak about the conscious and the subconscious and the unconscious, right? Our man of God spoke about how there was researchers, right, where they found out that humans only use 10% of their DNA.
Wow.
The other 90% they considered it junk. Like junk DNA, right? But then there was another researcher, right, who looked into that junk DNA, right, and actually found out that the junk DNA is made out of words. It's a language. It's made out of words that maybe even your grandfather has spoken. So now it's passed down to you through that junk DNA. So the way you walk, right, is influenced through that junk DNA. So our man of God also spoke about how there was his grandfather used to sit in a certain way, right? That also he doesn't sit like that. But then 4 of his sons, they sit exactly the same way as the grandfather. And researchers believe that they done an experiment and they said you can actually change the 90% of that DNA through words.
That's crazy.
So you can change the way you talk, they change the way every single thing by your words.
That's crazy.
The importance of words is so amazing. And you see that in the Bible where Isaac, right, the father of Esau and Jacob, that Esau and Jacob, when Isaac spoke, they took it so important. It was like water to them. Where Esau was like, don't you have any more words, any more blessings to say to me? And Isaac was like, they've been taken. Isaac took that DNA from his father Abraham. It was also passed on to Isaac, where Abraham took his words so importantly that when he speaks, he can speak a blessing to you, and it happens just like that.
Wow.
And this for us as well, this the junk DNA, right, can also be changed when we speak the word, we meditate on the word, we hagar the word.
Wow. Just on that, actually, hagar. Like, what does it mean to meditate, to plot, right? So if we move back to Genesis chapter 1, it says, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So when we look at the word moved, when we delve deeper into the etymology of that word, it means rahaf. Rahaf means to flutter in constant imagination of an outcome.
And that's such an important point. And even what you said, my brother Trent, about, you mentioned DNA. Now, when you talk about DNA, you're talking about the deoxyribonucleic acid.
Yes.
Let's go.
So in DNA, our prophet taught us that there was a study, right? Prophet Angel taught us that there was a study done by a Jewish professor, right, who studies genetics.
Okay.
And he was studying the DNA, right?
Yeah.
And what he was looking for, or what he was observing for, was sulfuric bridges.
Okay.
Now, sulfuric bridges are, in layman's terms, what hold DNA together.
Okay.
Right? So what he was observing is how frequently do these sulfuric bridges occur.
Okay. Yeah.
What he found, he used an electronic microscope, right? There's optical and electronic.
Yeah.
Now, optical can blow up images up to 10,000
Yeah.
the size, but electronic up to 1 million.
Okay. Okay.
Now, he used the electronic, so he blew up. He went really into detail. Now, what he saw is that what he observed in regards to the sulfuric bridges is that they occurred every 10 acid pairs. There's 4 acids. That's ATGC, right? Just in layman terms.
Yes.
And what he saw is that the sulfuric bridges occurred every 10 pairs, every 5 pairs, every 6 pairs, every 5 pairs. Now, this is where it gets interesting.
Let's go, tell us.
Prophet mentioned that when you look at the Hebrew language, numbers also correspond to their letters. Now, when we talk about 10, the number 10 in Hebrew is J, which is Yod. The number 5, right, is H. The number 6, V. The number 5 again, H. J, H, V, H. Hey, Vav, hey.
Wow. Whoa.
Himself.
Whoa.
What you're telling me is that Jesus is a language. Because Jesus is the word. Wait, do you know, like in the Bible it says, preach the gospel to every creature. And our man of God has taught us that we should speak the gospel to everything, even your bank account. So you just be speaking Jesus to your bank account. Speak Jesus to your health. Speak Jesus to your academics. I mean, how can you fail? You're speaking Jesus. Come on.
Imagine walking on campus knowing that every single cell in your body, every single piece of DNA has the signature of
God.
Signed. Right? Signed. That's why the Bible says you are the workmanship, the craftsmanship of Jesus. We are the craftsmanship of Jesus. Right? We are his masterpiece.
That's it.
Imagine having that revelation just as our man of God, Prophet Uebert Angel, teaches us.
Right.
Imagine what mountains, how can anything be
Woo!
I can remember before, back in the days, the way I used to talk, the way I used to say stuff like I'm depressed.
Wow.
I'm telling you now, I was not depressed.
No.
As soon as I got into the Word, as soon as I read the Bible, I was like, what? This is nice. I was free. I'm telling you, I was free. I was like, depressed where? Where? Come on. Jesus is the way, the truth, and life.
Exactly.
And we thank God for God's grace now.
Exactly. And when we look from Genesis to Revelation, all God did was speak. All God did was speak. When we look at Genesis 1, before he created anything, what did he say? He said, "Let there be." He spoke. And even that "let there be," Prophet Angel taught us that when we talk about, or when we read "let there be," when you look at the actual original Hebrew rendering, it doesn't even say "let there be." It says "light be." So imagine you're looking at your bank account and you're saying, "Money be." It's an instruction.
Hey. Woo.
Exactly. Literally, you don't look at your reality. You speak it. You know what I mean? You can't just be there thinking, I'm like, you don't even think about it. You know what I mean? Because let's be real, God is your language. Speak it. It's so easy.
Exactly.
Wow. On that point, when you said speak it, just imagine it. When you speak, you're speaking words, but those words are not without power. They are with significance. Every single word. My man of God, he actually declares and decrees every single service. He says these particular things. He declares a life to every dead situation. When he speaks life, that is a spirit moving forth. It's not just words. Now, when we speak words, we have a backing, right? We speak it with our tongue. It says in Proverbs chapter 18, verse 21, it says, the tongue holds the power of life and death. So what are you going to use your tongue for? Is it going to be for life or is it for death? Is it for your growth or is it for your failure? What is it for? Now,
that's so true, you know, you even say that, because the original rendering for the tongue in the Greek is actually called stoma, right? Which means a sword, right? And the Bible says that the word is the sword of the Spirit. Is the sword of the Spirit. You see how amazing that is? Like, when it comes to this area here, God takes this very seriously. I remember our man of God spoke about, he done a teaching regarding like the mouth itself, just like the mouth, right? And he says in Hebrew, they have like symbols for particular things, right? And the drawing for the symbol for the mouth is like, it looks like a camel. Right? Looks like a camel. And a camel, our man of God said that a camel at that time used to take you from one point, was their mode of transport. So they're saying that your mouth is a mode of transport, your tongue is a sword. You see how amazing that is? This area here is
when you're saying that as well then, so when your words come out, your spirit, spirit, like 1 Samuel 3:19 speaks about how God was with Samuel and he didn't let any of his words fall. Imagine that much substance.
Wow.
You fall to the ground.
Whoa.
Exactly.
With weight.
It's got
With
something
weight.
there. It's not something that you, like a feather, you just and it floats. It falls to the ground, you know what I mean? And then, when you think about it, the words that you speak in life, they're so powerful in your situation for today. As in, whatever you're going through and you think something bad is happening. You can't just be there and crying. What's crying going to do?
Even how you mentioned that the Bible says, "These words I speak unto you, are life and their spirit." But it also mentions that the words, our prophet has taught us that words are things. Words are things. And even if we just leave biblical definitions for now, when we look at the dictionary definition of a thing, it says a thing is a material object.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
A material object, which means even what you just said there. You mentioned the verse in 1 Samuel, right? Now, if words are things, they definitely hold weight. They have some sort of substance. So words are so much deeper than what we've learned as we've grown up as kids in the world. But now we have the best teacher. Who's taught us the importance of the words we speak through this book. This is literally, the genetic of words is literally a 101 of how to utilize words. Their assets. So what are we saying then? Is the law of attraction real?
Yes,
of course. But his name is Jesus. Now, on that note, this has been Campus Cry with another episode of Under the Influence. And before we depart or go anywhere, we'd like to honor our man of God and woman of God, prophet and prophetess. This opportunity to share the good news that we have been taught. And on that bombshell, we're not out of good news.
We just out of time.
Catch us again next Friday, 6:30 p.m. GMT. Same good news channel, same good news time. Until then, peace.